Hello, it's that time of year again, seems to come round quicker every time, where Microsoft published the latest release notes for Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. So they cover features that are going to be released from April this year through to September this year. So get the release notes now so we can see what's coming. Within there, each feature or item might have a different date where it goes into preview or goes into general availability, but it will be within that April to September window. So just going to go through some of my kind of personal highlights from the plan, I suppose. So in no particular order, covering Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, just some kind of interesting features that are in there that we think will be a benefit to us and our customers. If you want to know more about the release notes, we'll share a link, but you can also get in touch as well, and we can talk about maybe what features might be relevant to you individually and your organisation. So starting in the world of project operations then, a kind of long-awaited feature, one that we'll certainly be using, I have no doubt, is the ability to manage change orders against projects. So at the moment, it's a bit clunky having kind of that change control process in project operations. We can do task-based billing, but ideally we'd want to say, right, there's a change or an addition to this project, so we want to take that through a sales process as an order and then effectively add that order into an existing project. So we're going to have a way of doing that coming soon. So that goes into preview in September. Yeah, also for project operations, this is support for subscription billing for professional services businesses. So it's interesting as lots of professional services businesses kind of operating model changes when doing more around subscription billing and recurring revenue. It's definitely a feature that we'll be looking into and our customers will be using too. Okay, then into the world of Dynamics 365 Sales and some of the AI agents. So there's been a handful of agents within the sales application that have been around for a little while now. So it's Sales Research Agent, Sales Qualification Agent, the Opportunity Research Agent, those kinds of things. So we're looking at kind of incremental improvements across those agents, and we're seeing some of that gets released on a monthly basis, but these are kind of larger feature releases. So in the next release of the Sales Research Agent, as a sales manager, we can do things like create kind of multi-branched research across data that's in Dynamics 365 Sales, maybe a Fabric Lakehouse, and then we can pull in Excel files and PDF files. So to give you an idea of how that would work in context, I might go and say, are my sales team going to go and are my sales team going to hit their target this quarter? So to understand and answer that question, we might look at sales data that's in Dynamics 365. So look at my opportunity pipeline. I might have quota data and maybe HR data, so I can see how many people I've got in my sales team, if anyone's leaving or joining, etc. That might be in my Fabric Lakehouse that's pulled in from my HR system, and then I might upload some additional data in Excel around, I don't know, past performance or whatever it might be, and then the AI tooling can reason over all of that to deliver a really comprehensive answer. So if you haven't used the Sales Research Agent already, as it stands today, it's very powerful, allows you to get some really deep insights across your sales data. So this is a kind of more on top of that, I guess. Sales Qualification Agents is something that we're using internally to qualify leads. So effectively the way it works is you would define an ideal customer profile. Sales Qualification Agent will have a two-way conversation with a lead to get them to the point where they fit your ideal customer profile, and they reach a threshold for qualification, and then they can be handed off to a seller at that point. So it actually handles that kind of SDR type function that sits early on in the prospecting cycle. To date, we've only been able to have one of those agents running in an environment, but if you've got different products and services that you offer, you might want to train different agents differently, depending on what the proposition is. Now we can deploy multiple Sales Qualification Agents into a single Dynamics 365 Sales environment. So that'd be really useful for a really targeted qualification agent for kind of product X and product Y, for example. Also, with the Sales Qualification Agent, now got some more options to personalize the outreach emails that are generated by that agent. So we can define maybe what call to action we want to have, what tone we want to put in there, how the subject line looks, that kind of thing. So before, we didn't have loads of control over that. You could either have a fixed template, basically, or an AI-generated email. Now we can do some kind of refinement and coaching of the emails that come out of the Sales Qualification Agent. Okay, and then within the Sales Close Agent, we're introducing the ability to chat with the deal insights using, as Microsoft call it, an ask and refine experience in the Sales Close Agent. So that agent's going to serve up a bunch of insights around that opportunity and that deal. What we'll be able to do now is ask a question in the context of that, and maybe go deeper into the detail and say, why do I need to do this thing? What should I do next? That kind of stuff. So it's going to add an interesting kind of conversational element to the Sales Close Agent and the work it's already doing, to allow your sellers to kind of question it and take that further. Another useful tool is data enrichment within Dynamics 365 Sales. So this is another first-party agent that's built into the product. What this allows us to do is look across activity that's tracked against that opportunity, but is also in my inbox as emails, and use that to enrich the opportunity data in the system. So updating details like the close date, the budget, who the decision makers are, those kinds of things. So that can happen in the background. It can either suggest updates for me to make, or I can put it in autonomous mode, and it can actually automatically keep the opportunity up to date based on that information. Okay, another kind of additional AI capability here. So we've got sales research capability. So that's got access to all of the data in Dynamics 365 Sales. So things like our pipeline, account information, those kinds of things. But there's a load of other data that we'll probably want to connect to that. So they could be things like sales targets, budgets, actuals from our finance system. So we can now bring that via a Fabric Lakehouse into the Sales Research Agent in Dynamics 365. So taking away that kind of siloed data, bringing it all into one place through some pretty simple configuration. So we can bring all that data together, and then define those data sets. So targets, budgets, invoicing, and backlog, actuals, and use that for additional context for the research agent. Okay, and then it's a world of customer service. So a bunch of capabilities in here as well. Nice simple one is the ability to view sentiment indicators at case level. So previously we've been able to see sentiment in kind of emails, chats, voice conversations in the UI in that particular conversation. Now we want to lift that up a level and see that at case level. So overall, on a particular case, what's the sentiment for that customer? So that will be useful for looking across kind of multiple touches, multiple interactions with a customer there. We've also got the ability from a kind of supervisor standpoint. So there's some forecasting capability in customer service already to look at kind of demand and resource. But now we're adding some extra kind of AI capability over the top of that to look at dynamic forecasting with method selection. So here we're saying we're going to use a large language model to analyze historical and contextual data, and then select the best forecasting method to then use an AI engine to generate a forecast for the desired time horizon, along with the reasoning behind why we chose that particular model to do the forecasting. So some really intelligent capability in there. Customer facing part of customer service. So the chat widget has had a bit of an upgrade as well. So it's going to be more performance, so it will load faster. You've got deeper customization capabilities in there, an updated look and feel. So about a bunch of enhancements there for the widget that goes on the site that the customer interacts with. So seems like a small thing, but will have a big impact on end customers, I think. Also got some additional new features around authenticating customers. So we've got some existing authentication options during live interactions. What this does is add more identity providers out of the box, which makes it simpler to set up and configure, but also mid-conversation authentication. So if we're chatting to someone anonymously, we then need to be able to access data or share information with them mid-conversation. We can take them through an authentication process within that single chat in a synchronous way, so an anonymous customer becomes an authenticated known individual during an active conversation. So much smoother experience for the end customer there. But moving into Dynamics 365 Field Service now, and particularly looking at the scheduling piece. So if you're running a field service organisation, you'll know the schedule board is busy. There's lots on there. It's moving around dynamically all the time. So we've got a new feature now that allows us to take multiple bookings and move them by a defined offset. So I can say, right, I need to move everything back by a day or back by half an hour or whatever. A nice easy way to do kind of group-based moves within the schedule board there. We've obviously got tools like resource schedule optimization if we want to go and optimize an entire schedule, but where we've got a human supervisor doing some scheduling there and they want to move someone's day around or forwards or backwards, they've got the ability to do that much more simply now as well. Another feature that lots of people have asked for a fairly long time is the ability to link a work order to a project task. So this idea, the way we kind of typically describe it to our customers, is if it's kind of multi-day and it needs project management, then it's a project. Work orders tend to be distinct pieces of work that happen on a single day, or maybe multiple pieces of work on a single day. That's a work order. There's always been this desire to kind of have a bit of both, where it's a kind of project plan that has multiple stages and maybe has project management in there, design in there, etc. But there's a part of that project that is delivered as field work and requires a work order. So this feature brings those two things together and will be a great benefit for a lot of our customers. Yeah, and then looking across some of the Power Platform components, so Power Pages, which is the kind of external content management system website component within the Power Platform, where we can create customer portals, partner portals, supplier portals, those kinds of things. Within there, we've got some more analytics capabilities. So at the moment, we don't get a lot of telemetry out of Power Pages, but we'll be able to, going forward, capture that telemetry and export it to Azure Application Insights, where we can then do an analysis on that data, so looking at website traffic and that kind of stuff. So long-awaited feature to add a bit of analysis capability there. Similarly, we'll be able to track Power Pages performance and usage with a monitoring hub. So that will look at things like session count, session duration, page load times, error rates. Again, allowing us to kind of dig deeper into the Power Pages site and identify any issues within there as well. Okay, a quick one on Copilot Studio. So MCP servers, such model context protocol servers, have been around for a while now, and this idea that we can allow agents to talk to one another through MCP servers is not new anymore. What this feature brings to Copilot Studio is we can create brand new or clone existing MCP servers. So we could build a new MCP server by bringing together connector actions and tools and things from other MCP servers along with custom APIs. Or we can do things, and this will be interesting, like cloning an existing MCP server like the Dataverse MCP server, which allows us to go and update records in Dataverse and trigger actions and those kind of things, but then tailor that for our specific business, so we can add and remove tools from there. So if we wanted to create maybe a stripped down version for our business that had a kind of subset of the capabilities of the Dataverse MCP server, or equally we wanted to create a custom version that had some very targeted capabilities that align with what we do as an organization, we can do that and then deploy that, and that can then be used by agents. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there to create some really targeted and useful MCP servers reusing what already exists. Now, the Copilot Studio one is the ability to add a SharePoint list as a knowledge source into an agent. So adding SharePoint files and data has been around for a while, but this ability to add a list will be really useful, as lots of people store kind of key information within lists, so it's not just libraries of files in SharePoint, which should be useful. Final one from a admin perspective within Power Platform, so Dataverse in general, the ability to go and restore a deleted record from Dataverse will be a welcome addition. So that will be within a configurable retention period of up to 30 days. We can go and restore individual records. So typically we've had to use third-party solutions to enable that to date. So now that's part of the core platform. That'll be a really useful addition. So I'll say there's hundreds of new and improved features in the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 release plans. Just picked out a few kind of interesting points there. If you want to know any more about it, give us a shout, and we'd be happy to discuss it in the context of your organisation.